the Shus, the Presidium members, half of the class, Administrative Director Rabbi Schmerler, Menahel Rabbi Katz, Director of the Halacha Commission, Rabbi Student, who gets the Mazel Tov, became a grandfather, a Saba, and Rishus, our Chashav, the Vice President of Ram Stone, Mazel Tov, from the publication of your Sefer, which is available, and I encourage everybody who loves Svarim to seriously acquire a copy for your mishpacha. Oy, the Alter Rebbe flicks his organ. Is Aid, Ms. Leiden, mit der Gang, von der Woche, von der Gang, von der Woche, meint es every from the Woche. But a Jew has to live with the course, the movement of the week. And the movement of the week is the Torah reading of the week. Yesterday by Mincha, we ushered in the fourth book of the Torah Sefer Bamidbar. And in Bamidbar, I want to read this inside. Alakem is Eisenweinig, but I want to read inside for the records. It states in Paragimel Pasuk Aleph, Eile Toilet Aharaim, these are the Mabu Moshe. V'yoyim Diber Hashem is Moshe Bahar Sinai. And these are the toilets, the generation of Aaron HaKohen and Moshe Rabbeinu, on the day that the Eibush to the Lord Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe and Har Sinai. So Rashi asks the obvious question. It states the Eile toilets Aaron and Moshe, these are the generations of Moshe and Aaron. Ve'ena maskir ela b'nei Aharon. The Torah Kedosha only mentions Aharon and HaKohen. The Nikru told us Moshe, and Meruftus, the told us the generation of Moshe. So the Rashi HaKodesh brings down the Gemara from a Sanhedrin, Daf Yutes, Amid Beis 19b, Sanhedrin, Malame Shaloi, Hamalamed is Ben Chaver Torah, Malo Vakasa Gi'ilu Yoladai. It comes to teach us that there are Rabbi, that the Heilige Stella to teach Torah, he is called the father, the spiritual father of the son. The son, the child, has two partners as fathers. We know we have three partners, the Eibishter, the mother, and the father. When it comes to the Kedisha of the child, there's the biological tata, and there also is the Rabbi who teaches him Torah. Rav Spivak, Hagleiner Rav Yaakov David Ben Harav, Avram Spivak, Sechanu L'Bracha, the Tzadik L'Bracha, was an interesting Rabbi. He taught Dardiki in the Talmud Torah's Aleph Beis, the song Kamatz he taught it all the way through Mismachim, Rabbanim, and many of them like Rav Chazan, Chashav, the Morad, the Asherah from Shuls, and other holy places. You know, the Vilna Gaon was very medactic. When he walked into a class, when he walked into the room, and the Aleph Beis Rebbe walked in, he stood up right away. He asked him, Gaon, you know, not to knock Rebbeim, he was the Aleph Beis Rebbe. As Kimtim Azayfil Derech to give him so much respect. So he said, I can dingin with Allah Rebbeim. I can quarrel and argue with all my Rebbeim, but I cannot argue that Kamas Aleph is a O. That's what it is. I can't argue. But Spivak was such a Rabbi. From little children, from Talmud Torah through Smicha. Rabbi Spivak lived in an interesting dar. The dar was, he was born in 1944, I think around the time of the Southern Command Revolution, when in Auschwitz, there was a revolution and the Americans threw a couple of bombs, which unfortunately should have bombed the whole thing, the gas chamber, separate conversation. And he lived the Kufa, big transition in Yiddishkeit. I know I spoke to Rabbi Schwartz at the big source for being with Rabbi Nachman Schwartz, formerly of Young Israel Spring Valley, and Anshe Sfard in Louisiana. I had a conversation with him. What Yiddishkeit looked back 50 years ago. Ich bin a knacker. I'm standing here today on a pulpit in a shul. But could you picture 50 years ago when Yiddishkeit geschockt sich? Of course, unfortunately today, we're still fighting the assimilation and the Shmad. We're still having aggravation from what's going on. But 50 years ago, there wasn't the yeshivas, there wasn't the Ruach HaKodesh, there wasn't the Kedusha out there to prevent it. And people like Rabbi Schwartz, and Chaverim like Rabbi Spivak, and other Choshev Rabbanim were out there in the field. They were tasked with the charge to build Yiddishkeit in this country. It's important because the Orach Chaim HaKadosh comments on the pasuk we just quoted. Ela tells us Aaron and Moshe. He quotes the Orach Chaim HaKadosh that the Eibishter was very broigus and Aaron HaKohen over the Chet HaEgel, sin of the golden calf. And because Moshe Rabbeinu, being the Rebbe that he was him, he did not take his anger out to Aaron HaKohen and allowed it to continue. We see from here that the spiritual Rebbe could also save your Gashmias, your Neshama, and the challenge, whether it was Soviet Jewry, or the challenge was going to yeshivas, or being a pasha to Shoyim Shabbos that we take advantage today, that was the door that built it. And where did Rabbi Spivak get these places from? From two diametrically opposite Gedolei Yisrael. There was one Gadol Yisrael, Harav Ruderman Zatzal, who was the Rashiv in Baltimore, and the second Gadol Yisrael was Rav Hornglass, who was the Mashgiach. Rav Ruderman was from Slobodka, and he believed in godless Adam, the Groiskeit, the Breitkeit for the mensch, the importance of the mensch. Rav Hornglass was the exact polar opposite. Our mensches are garnished, our mensches are garnished, our mensches are garnished. See Phil Guyver from the old Navarni type of yeshiva. But that combination of seeing how the Gedolei Yisrael approached Hashkafa, Halacha, molded Rabbi Spivak. Because Rabbi Spivak finally got smicha and he left the yeshiva, he came to Rav Hornglass very, very still. He turned to him and he told him, but Rebbe always said the mentions are garnished is true. You have to know what a person really is. But you have to understand what your role in society as a Rav also is. And Rabbi Spivak did his best in a humble way to bring out the best, was the Yigat HaRabbanim, whether it was the Koilo, whether it was the Talmud Torah that he was with. I'm going to conclude. I could speak much more longer and much more in detail, but it's very painful today. I know we had a meeting last week with Rabbi Schwartz, we're going to dedicate soon, Rabbi Klass, Rabbi Heffman dedicate Lila Nishmas, Hagoyin Rav Yaakov David Ben Harav Avram Spivak, the Kaishel Eshel Avram to continue in his Mahalach. I know that he had a special smicha from Hagoyin, Harav Yitzchak Isaac Liebes, the Gevezener, who was the Avbeis, Mamish from the Gedolei Yisrael. Gedolei Rabbanim Goitzaki was the Avbeis of Yigat HaRabbanim. And also from the Skvera Rebbe gave him a special bracha on building the Koilel, because the job of the Koilel is to fight the anti-Semitism. If we survive a chorabin of the Holocaust, and we survive all type of issues facing Klal Yisrael, that means Hashem is protecting us because of our rebellion. And it's our job here this morning, both as a rabbinical association, both as a yeshiva that grants smicha for Rabbanim, to continue that mahalach. Any further delay, I thank you for coming and look forward to enjoying the rest of the program.